Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Nikodyz Plays does War Review for Marvel Strike Force. First thing I want to point out, if you notice I didn't censor the name of the enemy for this war. And that's because it turns out that two of their players were streaming the war. So I kind of feel like they lost their right to anonymity. So let's see what happened here. Yeah, so normally Brotherhood doesn't work against this team because of Rhino. Every time there's a blind, he clears all the debuffs, so I realize that only happens once. Sinister 6 used to be considered a soft counter to Brotherhood back in the day when people were putting them on defense. So I guess it looked like this was a decent counter, but if you look at what I'm always telling you guys, no G14s here. I got this guy here built up, 5R, 7-star, G14. So not the biggest Doc Ock by any stretch, but he's gonna keep healing himself, and that's exactly what he did. He hits like a wet noodle when he's not using the special, and he's just kind of there to annoy you. So yeah, no way they were gonna win. So this is the thing with this team. I mean, okay, people argue that Cable isn't very useful. I disagree with that. His special is invaluable. Strips buffs, rewinds time. If you do it to the guy in the middle, everybody gets rewinded a little bit. But you look at this team, like, what is Ghost adding to this team? Like, her biggest thing is extending the debuffs, but this isn't really a debuff heavy team. I mean, you got her special, but she likely used it right in the beginning. So, yeah. And, I mean, no disrespect to Commander 2, but like this isn't even the best Sinister 16. So, yeah. Alright, so the first thing I thought when I saw this team was, oh, this is a good use of old meta. Like, it's just Doc Ock, which they shouldn't have left alive. But, I mean, put Ultron there at least. Goodness, I could think of a lot of better uses for her. At least you got the win. So I like to take this moment to thank Casino for this victory, this war defense that I got. Yeah, and I mean, let's be honest, my Marauder team sucks. Like, look at that tiny strife. The basic concept is you're supposed to just keep using your basics until all the immunities are gone, and then try to take him out, and then work on either one of these two. If she's got her diamond form, it's a lot easier to take him out, right? And then you just, once one of them is gone, the other one goes down a lot easier. And these two are going to do 0 damage to these people. She might get lucky with her ult, but I wouldn't count on that. It's not, yeah. Oh, another win for our hero. Alright, so on paper, this team works very well against this team. The core concept is that every time they dodge, she's gonna make them pay for that. The problem is that she's really small in comparison to Ghost, who is gonna keep healing and dodging all the bloody time. So yeah, the game was rigged before they started. They weren't gonna win this. He's the only one who comes close to killing her. Might get lucky and get his ult off on her and then get that defense down and full heal, but chances are they just lost. So when I see losses like this, the first thing that I look at is the ISOs, right? And you think, okay, healer, that's fine. This combo works. This is kind of useless to me. I suppose the logic is for the ult, that you'll do more damage for it. But then why would you put healer on your ridiculously tiny cull? And I mean, it sucks for this player. I do feel for this player that lost by like this KFC here. Like, it genuinely sucks, right? But like, this is why you're supposed to balance out your team. Literally, if he had put a little bit more work into these two characters, it would have been enough to win. I'm not too sure what happened here. I mean, I'm guessing he just kept healing himself. They had no way to get a heal block. If he had Scarlet Witch, I always call her Scarlet Witch. If he had Black Widow, would have been able to stun. And the ISOs are funky. Skirmisher is good. The ISOs are kind of weird on this. These three are fine, but like Striker, Raider, I don't know. I don't think that's why they lost though. It just these two are the only ones who can do any damage to him. No one else is really gonna do any damage, and he's got a lot of attacks that hit more than once. And every time he does it, he's giving him a chance to heal. And I'm guessing that's what happened. Yeah, there's not really much to say about this, guys. I know this is the counter against Redface, but as soon as you add Zemo, it changes completely. And I mean, TCP-wise, they're pretty close. But if you look, all the TCP are these two, because these guys are just scum. And again, here, he's got TCP. I mean, he's got him built up, her for some reason, but no one else. Ideally, this wouldn't have happened in the first place. If you left Doc Ock alive, you're forcing your alliance to use a full team to take him out. There are exceptions, like you can throw Ultron with a bunch of scrubs or whatever, right? He didn't dissect any important teams to do this, but what in this kit looked like it could defeat Doc Ock? You run into the same problem again, that like, he does the most damage, and he is a pitiful strength. There's no way he's gonna win. He has healer for some inexplicable reason. Yeah, I had to like triple check that to make sure it wasn't skirmisher, which still would have been strange. It didn't cancel out. Like, there's no one here to do any damage, so I'm not too sure what this player thought was gonna defeat this Doc Ock here. So it's not often you see the Avengers on offense. It's not often you see the Avengers with Zemo and Minerva. It's not often you see 3 skirmishers on one team with 1 striker. I mean, he got the win, but at what cost, right? I mean, now he can't use Zemo anywhere else. He could have put Zemo with his actual friends and they would have been able to do the same amount of work, and then he would have been able to use his team elsewhere. I was pretty impressed with this team, to be honest. This is another one of those teams where you got to stop and think. You put Doom in here and it changes things, because if this was Sabretooth, this should have totally won. Strife getting that taunt up just changed the dynamics of this whole team. And yeah, tough break. As you can see, our Commander Lala had the same team. So here's another one of those things. Realistically speaking, you cannot expect every single member of your alliance to reasonably give an after-action report on every single battle they make. In fact, if they did, it would be pointless because almost nobody would read it. I'm sure that not every single member of every single alliance reads every single thing written in the Discord. But like, he used a weaker version of a team that had failed before and then failed. Okay, Uncle Grandpa, perfect together. He just needs a cosmic person beside him. Kestrel is Kestrel. Ghost, I don't really see her providing too much to this team per se, but he just wanted a little bit of extra gumption. Though give him this, you know, there's one thing when somebody tries something, fails, and then does the exact same thing again, fails, and then, you know, like that's one thing, right? But then when you get somebody who tries something, fails, and then, you know, changed it up a bit. I guess he found that these two died too quickly, so he wanted to put them apart. Didn't look like it helped you very much. So then he tries again. This is still weaker than that other team. At least he got his ISOs better. Goodness. And then finally a breakthrough. They took out their Mystique. No! You see the whole team collapsed right after that. And alas, it was true. After the Mystique, they were no match for the symbiotes. Well, enough of their failures. Undertaker. Got an Uncle Grandpa team with Namor and Zemo. Punched up almost 200k. And Marauders. Good win, sir. I feel personally it was a little overkill to put Zemo here, but if you're not using him with the others, then that's fine. And Polaris, you know, even you have a 6-star Polaris, but she's at 3 stars, it's not really going to make that much of a difference. So yeah, it's good to see that what this team is capable of. BG. So my fear with going after these teams is this Thor, because he seems to whoop my butt. And it looks like these two got taken out right away. But he was able to put good use to his Hela that he built up for Dark Dimension to take out an almost 100k team. 100k bigger. Ah, and our drunk war leader, Frank. So jealous of your X-Force for sure. One thing I did want to point out is that when you're fighting this team, you want to have Deadpool with the highest damage for Taskmaster, and probably isn't the case. It was probably one of these girls. Something to keep in mind. I know it's painful to put resources into Deadpool when there's other mutants around and such, especially compared to these two. But from somebody who has a 6-star Deadpool, I can tell you that his special hurts like a truck, and his ult is pretty good too, actually. So even without T4s. So don't be scared to take the dive, but you are crippling yourself because this becomes more complicated for sure with these two Asgardians. But otherwise, it could be an easier win. And I feel like it looked like just a little bit more, and you might have been able to pull that off. Oh, like this, right? So yeah, like I said, 6-star Deadpool, but I got to make sure that the numbers do check. He does have more damage than X23, and that's something I keep in mind every time I level these people up. So it's actually funny because when I got into this attack, I said I'd never done this before. Is this easy? And it was a certain drunken war captain who was like, oh yeah, it's simple. Okay. Started off, and you know, he wasn't wrong. You just got to play it differently. See, normally opening move, you get her to get rid of all these defense ups that you have on everybody. Then Domino. Then ideally you want to get Disrupt on Riot Guard with Domino. The only caveat to that is you want X23 to go before Taskmaster. She gets more speed bar when the enemy's health gets below a certain point. And if it doesn't look like Riot Guard or the people adjacent to him are going to get close to that, you're going to have to use that move on someone else just to proc that move. And so then you ability block him, and then at that point you just try to clean them up. Usually around that point it's GG, right? So when I did this match, I started the same thing, except it's not so much his move that you got to be worried about. It's her ult. And I realized this. It was like my life flashed before my eyes, and I was like, her ult, as I saw like everyone get wiped. I think Negasonic had a titch of health. Domino died. Deadpool was about half health. Cable was dead. Like, she was about half, and I got lucky with her. She soloed like 3 of them. Not ideal by any stretch, and I realized that with all the other mutants, you might have different priorities, but definitely X23 and Negasonic are the damage dealers of this group. And then the thing I mentioned to Frank earlier, where you want to make sure he has more damage. And Parker, this is a good win. It's a nice punch up. And why I'm pointing this one out, as you can see, he put in a lot of resources in X23, so he's not following the advice I mentioned, but he's not using this on a team where that makes a difference. I'd like to take the time to mention, I make videos based on footage from about a week ago. The idea is if I'm using footage from my alliance, like in cases of their failed attacks, it's as to not rub salt in their wounds. Time has passed, we've already forgotten about that win or that loss or whatever, right? So why I feel that I recorded this picture is because if it's not much of a punch up in the grand scheme of things, but Silver Surfer makes all the difference. And what I found works on this team is once you get the blind on, sometimes you're lucky and you can extend it, so when Black Bolt does his ult, it doesn't hurt anybody. Since Magneto brought them all together, what I do is I just focus all the attacks on Silver Surfer. There's enough splash damage in this group with his ult, with his special, with all his moves, with his special, with his ult, with both his special and his ult, and his basic, that the splash damage will get everybody eventually, but you need to focus on him because he keeps healing himself all the time. So just through attrition, everyone else will die. The only caveat I would say to that is I usually try to get her below 50%, so that way she heals herself and gets rid of the debuffs, and then I take her out. Then I do that. I just keep focusing on him. If I notice somebody is low on health and they're about to make a move, I might switch my focus to them. But normally, I just focus on Silver Surfer, and by the time I'm done, everyone's dead, but before he's dead. He's always the last survivor. All right, and I'm gonna have to put a cut here. I'm trying to keep these videos short so you always enjoy the content. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something from this. And as always, if you'd like to submit an attack, whether it's one of your epic punch-ups or an enemy failing, one of those weird mishmash teams that we can all laugh about together, join me in the Discord. I'll put a link in the description and you can submit it there. Otherwise, thank you very much and have a good night.